Okay. So here we go. Here's what's going on. I've tried 4 or 5 times to make this video, and it's just not coming out. It's like bad indigestion. And what's going on is that I really wanted to make a video before today because of reasons. Now, if I was editing this properly, I would be putting titles up here. But since it's actually easier for me to edit A cam, B cam, A cam, it's easier for me to do that than it is for me to learn how to do titles in DaVinci Resolve, it turns out. And I want to get this out today. So every time that I would normally be making a title, I'm just going to turn to the A cam and say what I'm thinking. It'll save us some time in editing, so when I say, and I just can't get this out, but I really wanted to get this video done today, it's because Patreon charges people on the 1st, and today is the 31st. So, when I am being more productive than normal, part of that is through the support of Patreon. They're the reason I haven't been going 2 months without making a video. It's not the money, it's the support. Money's really nice. Because I alternate between having months of being extremely productive and months of just not having things work out. And sometimes I just come up here and I try to film a video and it doesn't work out and things just don't work out and I don't know why. The answer is bipolar. Bipolar is the reason it doesn't work out. What you gonna do? Apart from order a new brain, special order a new brain, it's gonna have to come from China, it's gonna get stuck on a boat, people are gonna come into my job and be like, hey, do you guys have more elastic? No, because all our shit comes from China. Anyway, here's the thing. Everybody wants to know about the Korg RK-100s and my actual opinions on it. First things first. Behold, I have repainted it. This is good old Rust-Oleum color shift paint. So sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's purple. Do I know which angle it's at now? No, I don't know what angle it's at, but sometimes it's blue and sometimes it's purple. And it looks really good. And I want to begin by saying, when me and 2 cans of Rust-Oleum paint provide a better paint job than what came stock on the Keytar, Korg really should have listened, and maybe they did. We won't know, we never got the 100S2. When they release it, I really hope they give it a better name. The naming convention of the Korg line of Keytars sucks. Anyhow, that's not why we're here. Why are we here? We don't know. We do know. This is why we're here, I have notes. Anyway, I have tried to film this repeatedly, and the only other time I've successfully brute forced a video out when I didn't want to was when I had 4 cups of coffee and then reviewed every Keytar I owned in one take. So we're gonna do that again. I have 2 lists here. I have the pros and I have the cons, and the cons are in a small list because I didn't want you to be able to see what they were ahead of time and then just get in the comments and neg on me. You can get in the comments and neg on me for a bunch of other stuff, including the fact that I am not going to be color matching this video to this video. It's not gonna happen. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bust out, that is Pandora, that's not what we're gonna bust out. We're gonna bust out the interval timer app. So that's 1 minute and 30 seconds to address each one of these points. So there is no getting distracted, there is no backing down, there is none of me noodling around on the keyboard and giving the false impression that I know what I'm doing. We are just gonna talk about my list. So, here we go. I hope you're ready. Come on. Can I get some noise? Okay, so we're gonna start out with the pros because otherwise you guys are gonna get mad at me. So first things first, this sounds way better than it has any right to sound. The thing is, if you made a Keytar and the paint explodes off the Keytar when you put it in your car, we're gonna get to that later. If you made that and me had to repaint it with Joanne Fabrics craft paints, you really didn't have any right to make it sound good. And the thing is that it's not like a great build, but it sounds really, really good. So if you want a synth and you're just not ready to have full real-time control over it the same way that you have on the MS-1 or the Yamaha Reface CS, this is a really good instrument for that. We got 28 seconds. Okay, there's good arpeggiators. It looks good. Let's be real. The 2 most important elements of a Keytar is, does it sound cool and does it look cool? Because if it doesn't look cool, you're not going to want to play it. That's why nobody but Freeze Pop plays one of these. And yes, I tested out the paint on my Rock Band Keytar. I'm not going to spray paint on my $900 Keytar without, giving it a test run to make sure it looked good. So, it looks good. It's got a good shape. Honestly, the best part about the RK-100 is the way that it looks, because it doesn't have velocity sensitivity. We'll get into that later. And the way that they adapted that into like a slightly more modern, less 80s version of the same shape is really cool. You have like your 2 square buttons up here, and you got your 2 square buttons up there. You got your 8 selection buttons down here. You got your 9 buttons down there. And then you've got the little lighty light ups, and then these lighty light up. So all of that together gets a really similar style and feel, and it's a really faithful adaptation and a really cool way of moving something forward in design while still keeping its roots. So, like, I always talk about when you're making cosplays, how you gotta work out texture and scale while still keeping thematic elements, and this is what that did. They made it smaller, they got a new texture and a new tools, but they kept it thematically similar. I'm probably gonna cut these 10-second rest periods out, because they're not gonna be as interesting, but oh shit, 10 seconds is not very long. This is a better size. This thing is huge. And one of the things is that, like, I know that that sounds ridiculous because I love this thing, and this thing is also huge. This thing is huger than this, and it's heavier. This is heavier than this. Like, I have guitars that are more extreme, but, I just want to say the RK-100 Classic is big. And you don't get a whole ton of expression out of it, especially with the non-velocity sensitive keyboard, so it's just a little bit, like, it feels oversized. It feels dated, and that's good, because it's a classic keytar. It's supposed to feel dated. The fact that the RK-100 Classic, which is what we're going to call it from now on, screams, I'm outdated, I'm from the... I almost said 70s, it's not from the 70s, Pink. See? That's what the speeding thing does. It makes my brain do things, and then I'm more interesting to watch because I'm not stopping moving. So, yeah, that's good, but when they said we want to make it more modern, they cut down part of the keyboard, and then they made it smaller, which is fantastic because they decided to make the body out of wood, which is not fantastic. And when they did that, they made it really heavy. This is also really heavy, but when they made it smaller, since they were so determined to make it out of wood, making it smaller was a really good decision. Made it, oh, what's my next point? Oh, the tap tempo. You can control the tempo from this button, doing just standard tap tempo, and that's so great because you can send MIDI clock with this, which means that I can send this to my looping pedal, and then when I want to change tempo, I can change it up here instead of having to bend down on the looping pedal, and they sync. I can run a bass line off of my TD3, and TB3? TB3, no. I don't remember what the actual number is, but it's the Behringer clone of the Casio thing, of the thing with the stuff, and it was rolled into, never mind. Anyway, it's full, especially when you play with arpeggiators, and I love arpeggiators, it turns out. So when I want to change beat per minute in this, I have to go into 4 different menus to find it, and that doesn't make it very intuitive. And I don't have another keytar that lets you control tempo on the body, except for the SHS-10, which, is a little bit different, because it's, you know, I mean, it's also technically a synth keytar. The last thing I have is a little bit mean, so we're gonna leave it to the end and just get on to the negatives. So we got 1:24 to address 2 of them. There's not a lot of inputs and there's not a lot of outputs. Output-wise, we have MIDI out, we have a 1/4 inch, and we have a USB MIDI, which I'm just gonna count as MIDI out. And that's it. So you can send MIDI clock from this, you can use it as a MIDI controller, and that's really nice, but I want more. I don't know if I got spoiled by this thing, but there is like 15 outputs on this. And then there's also not a lot of inputs. I can't use vocoder and use line in at the same time. Shoot, I got no time. I can't do that, and I want another input for that, and I really, 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 really want MIDI in on this. I want to be able to control this from other keytars, because this sounds so good, but if you want to use the sounds on it, your options are basically doing this or buying a Korg mini log, and if I had $500, I would spend it on another keytar instead of buying another Korg synthesizer. This is what should be a good instrument, but it can't talk to other instruments as well as I want it to, and other instruments can't tell it what to do as much as I want to. And that's a bummer. I also would love an 1/8" headphone jack, but I want an 1/8" headphone jack in everything that I have. So we are up to the patch select is bad. This is not a good way to navigate through 200 sounds. This is awful. And you're gonna hit it while you're playing because you're reaching down for this. It's nice that it's located in a place where I can find with either hand, but they had it right on the Classic. You've got a patch select up there at the very top, which they made octave buttons on this, and then you have favorites down here. And I know that you've got favorites down here, but it's just so difficult to... I know people are going to be like, ping is not that hard to do that. Well, it doesn't feel intuitive, it doesn't feel natural, and it's hard to select things. It's the same nag I have with the Sonogenic about not having, like, clicky buttons, is that I can just spin the wheel on the Sonogenic. Where does it stop? None of us know. But with the Sonogenic, and when I say the Sonogenic, I mean the Sonogenic 500, but with that, there's only 30 sounds. So if I get lost, I can find my way back. There's 200 sounds on this. That's a lot of sounds to have to navigate through with a little stick that you're probably going to hit on accident. And when you accidentally switch patches and then switch back with that, it doesn't go back to the patch as you had it set. It goes back to the patch as default. So if you hit that on accident, it's gonna fuck you up. 4, 3, 2, okay. It's made of wood. Oh, shoot, I'm on a recipe here, never mind. It's made of wood. I've mentioned this earlier. Why is it made of wood? I believe this one is made of wood through cost-cutting mechanisms. I don't think that they made that through wood to, like, identify it with higher quality electric guitars. But the manual for this is like, much like most electric guitars, this is made of wood. And I'm like, okay, cool. If I wanted a wooden electric guitar, I would buy a wooden electric guitar. I have a wooden electric guitar. I want a keytar. It's just, it would have been nice to see this with a lighter weight body, especially because the original version, this one, doesn't show off the wood grain, so what was the point of making it out of wood, except to be either pretentious or cheap, and I don't know which one it is. I am going to read this exactly as it is in my notes. Manual says the paint will explode in the heat, and we just don't talk about that. So this one is going to be something it turns out I'm way more passionate about than I thought I was going to be. Here's what's up. If you know that your instrument needs to be treated like glass, you need to find an audience who will treat it like glass. And my experience with other guitarists is that we are not that person. We treat our instruments with respect, but we also expect to use them. Buying an instrument and never playing it is a disrespect to that instrument on some level. And that means taking it, putting it in a case, putting it in your car. I mean, and so there is that, but then it comes in a soft case, and they're like, if you give it a shock or change heat, then the paint's gonna explode off of it. And if you know that's gonna happen, you should troubleshoot that problem. You should not just leave a note saying, hey, that's gonna happen. Okay, whatever. It's not very expressive either. It has velocity sensitivity. No offense, but you need it. It's got velocity sensitivity. That's fine. It's fine. It's got your long strip and your short strip. And that's it. The long strip can be set to 3 different expression types, but it can't use them simultaneously. The short strip can be set to 2 different expression types, but it can't use them simultaneously. Which means that if you're using your pitch stripped for pitch, it comes at the expense of mod, and if you're using your mod stripped for mod, it comes at the expense of pitch. I only have one other keytar that does that, and this was $5. You got mod, you got pitch, you gotta switch between the two of them. It's kind of fitting that I gave them matching paint jobs. Whereas, like, the thing I love the most about the AX Edge is that every single input has extra expression. I think the battery on camera number 2 just died, so we're just committed to this now. No more asides to camera number 2, we're doing this now. Okay, is that you've got the keys, they have velocity and aftertouch. The pitch strip has touch and pressure. You have, oh gosh, 10 seconds in. Okay, there's sustain, but there's no portamento, there's no vibrato, there is no unison, you just have, you lose a lot of stuff. Okay, where are we from there? The patches are inconsistent volume. I really want to talk about how this doesn't have all the levels of expression that it could have, and that makes the sounds really difficult to interact with and experience, but apparently we're on a separate one of these. The patches are inconsistent volume. Now, I understand how synths work on some level, and I say, okay, I understand that on certain ones you pull the cutoff back, and then you've pulled out a lot of the sound, so everything gets quieter, and you've got to turn the volume up, but these are presets. Somebody should have gone through and been like, hey, these are way quieter than these, because it makes it really annoying, especially when you have a sound guy, and the sound guy is always telling you, keep your hands off of your volume knob, I will do this for you, but then he doesn't know that you're about to switch to a quieter patch, and then he sees you on your volume knob, and he's just gonna, like, chew you out for something, and you're going, okay, cool, now he's gonna, like, pee in my spot in the van. I assume that's what that's like. Anyway. If you're using presets, somebody should have gone through and said, oh hey, these presets need to have a volume boost, especially because some of these presets already have an octave shift when you apply them, so they know how to do that. They have the technology. We have the technology to do that, but we have not done that. Why have we not done that? Why are we like this? How did we get here? Okay, and I don't like that it's, what, a $750 instrument where nobody thought to do that. Okay, so inputting stuff and navigating the menus is also extremely frustrating. Did you chip off? You can't chip off. Fuck you. Anyway, it's really frustrating because all your navigation is done by the shift and press another button and then use the dingle hopper and then read the 3 digits you get from this. And I understand that this is an older keytar in terms of modern keytars, but that's like what I get out of the SHS-10. Except the SHS-10 has the buttons labeled with what they do. Whereas this, you have to memorize it. Inputting stuff is difficult. Changing banks is difficult. This would really, really, really have benefited from getting a longer LCD with actual textures in it like we have on the AX Edge and the SHS-500. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is not like, oh, well that's an old thing and it's just a symptom of being an older keytar, because I understand that. What I'm saying is that with the RK-100s2 that they announced, it looked like it used the same menu system. This is 2020, everything sucks, we might as well have menu systems that we can understand instinctively. My nose itches so much. It is a really cool sounding synth that you can manipulate the sounds on, but you can't manipulate them in real time while you're playing, and what is the point of playing a synth on some level if you can't do that? When we have a setup that would be great for this. We've got favorites, so let's say that you take the favorites, you hold it down, that selects the favorite, but then on a normal thing, these instead of being labeled A through H, they have a thing like C would be labeled cutoff, and then you'd hold that, and you'd play with the dingle hopper, and that would change those parameters. That seems like a thing that would not have been difficult to implement, considering that the instrument itself already has that, but you gotta plug it into the computer. And even if that would be difficult to implement, this is a $750 keytar. I would love to see it be a cool sounding synth that has real-time controls on it. But the number of times that I want to be playing as a player, especially when there's no expression except long strip, short strip, there's all these times where I want to be playing and, I want to be playing it and changing the sound, and I can't change the sound with this, and that's very limiting. And battery, 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 battery. Alright, since my camera cut off, because it cuts off, the other camera cuts off, because of that we have the snarky response camera back. So, where was I? We were on, synth without real-time controls. Okay. Yes, this lets me cheat and get another minute and 30 seconds about this. The reason I play the keytar is to be able to manipulate the sound while moving. To have that control while I play. But this has so few expressivity options on it, and it sounds like it should have so many. With this, literally every button on it controls expression in some sense. And with this, I have 2 modes of expression that I can't use simultaneously, and then those have little switch options. And like, so this has 2 mod options on the same wheel, and so it's kind of nice that it's got like the 2 mod options on the same strip, but this also has a volume and a bend wheel, and this doesn't have that. You gotta do the mod and the mod and the mod. I want more expression. And I want that expression on the keytar. I don't want to be sitting at home and like going, what expression am I going to want when I'm playing 5 hours from now? Okay, and here's the real one that annoys me. Pitch strip is aggressively reset. So when it's red, it's doing pitch, and when it's green, it's doing mod. And so if I go up to like 75 and I set it to pitch, and then I go down to this one, and I go back up to 75, it's set it back to mod. So if I want to primarily use the pitch strip for pitch, it doesn't let me do that unless I go in and edit it in the source. There's no memory retention for that, and that's one of my biggest negs on the SHS 500 is that I can set the portamento to whatever I want, but when I turn it off and turn it back on, it's forgotten that. And this is like that, except I don't have to turn it off or turn it on, it just forgets it anyway. Great. Or I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I want that. And it's funny because we're going to take another 20 seconds to... My favorite thing about the AX Edge is that it has a different setting for every single setting. And this has a different setting of if it wants to be pitch or mod for every single patch. But this is better than that because it's got all the different kinds of expressions. So if I don't like... Okay, so the timer's over. If I don't like what the mod sounds like, I can get expression out of Aftertouch. And that lets me, when all those are preset and have been thought out and said this is what you want, even when it changes things around, I know the pitch strip is still going to be pitch. And with this, I never know if I'm going to be modding pitch or mod unless I look down. And if I'm looking down while I'm playing guitar, then I'm not running around like an idiot and pissing off my guitarist friends. And that's what I like doing. I just like upsetting guitarists. So anyway, that's me reviewing everything I don't like about the Korg RK-100s. That said, I really like that I have this. I know that I put off getting it for a long time because of the price, and then I was hoping that I'd be getting it with the new version, but I'm glad that I have this so that I can compare it to the new version whenever the new version comes out. Fuck you, Corona, give me my keytars. What to do is play the AX Edge through... I'm filming a video! Oh, it's my dad asking... Yeah, Taco Bell... So I have a color shifting keytar now. You wish you had a color shifting keytar. We all know it. Anyway, I'm running out of time to edit this, so I need to stop talking. It's almost 4 o'clock. But there's like different keytars for different things, but I like the idea of the way that this feels. I like how it sounds, and I think it's a good like ambassador to keytardom. If you play this, you're probably going to want to keep playing the keytar. If you play this as your first keytar, there's a good chance you're going to write off all keytars. And it just offends me a little bit. And I try not to make every video be why this keytar is better than the Sonogenic 500. But unfortunately. Okay, so on that note, we're gonna... If you subscribe to my Patreon, cool things happen. I make stickers. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Apologies. And if you join the Patreon, you get a thank you card from me every month. That's cool. Oh, subscribe. That's the other button I'm supposed to press. Don't forget to subscribe and hit a like and leave a comment. When you leave a comment, it really boosts my video's visibility, so even if you just say something weird and random, if you watched this video and you have time, please leave a comment. It helps my videos reach other people. We recently hit 2,000 subscribers, which is a huge number for me. I remember what I was going to do, like my plans for when I was going to hit 500 subscribers, so this is kind of crazy for me, and I love it. And now that battery is dead. Okay, so we're just gonna mug to this camera for a while. And so, I really, really appreciate when you do that. If you want to help my channel grow, commenting, liking, subscribing is the best way to tell YouTube to show this channel to other people. Which is nice, because I like when I do stuff and it gets noticed. Anyhow, that's about it. The cat is somewhere. Midnight? You're not on your chair. I was gonna film you. You under the couch? There you are. Hey, look at you examining your life. There you are. So this is MIDI the Keytar Cat. On the list of things that aren't perfect but I love them includes the Korg RK-100s and this cat. Good night, everybody.